Atlanta, a city of ambition and movement, pulses with life. But in the hushed, elegant lobby of a luxury hotel, a different kind of story unfolds. Imagine this. You're the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar hotel group, bone-weary after a long day. All you want is a quiet room in your own flagship hotel. But when you step up to the front desk, a young employee looks at you with a dismissive smirk and says, "I'm afraid we don't have a room for someone like you." What would you do? Do you yell? Do you immediately call security? Or do you face this indignity with a quiet, undeniable power, turning a moment of disrespect into a profound and unforgettable lesson? This isn't just a story about discrimination. It's about the unyielding strength of a black woman who shook an entire corporation with a single calm statement. It's about a lesson one young man will never forget. The city of Atlanta hummed a vibrant symphony of ambition and movement. But for Dr. Anya Sharma, the rhythmic pulse of the metropolis outside her tinted window was a mere backdrop. She was a woman accustomed to orchestrating symphonies of her own. Grand deals, strategic acquisitions, and the meticulous growth of her empire, Ascent Hospitality Group. At 52, with a career that spanned decades, Anya carried herself with a quiet, undeniable gravitas. It wasn't the kind that demanded attention, but commanded it. Her skin, rich with the history of her ancestors, shone subtly in the afternoon light. Her tailored blazer, the classic lines of her natural hair, the simple elegance of her pearl earrings. Every detail spoke of purpose, of strength. She was in every sense of the word, a force. And a black woman, an undeniable, formidable black woman at the helm of a multi-billion-dollar enterprise. Today, however, the usual thrill of closing a deal was overshadowed by a deep, bone-weary exhaustion. A last-minute board meeting, an unexpected flight across the country. All she craved was a quiet room, a warm bed, and a few hours to reset before tomorrow's critical vote. And what better place than the Monarch Ascent, her very own flagship hotel, a shimmering beacon of luxury rising proudly in downtown Atlanta. This wasn't just a property. It was a monument to her resilience, a place she'd poured her soul into, designed with an eye towards dignity and human connection for every guest. She stepped out of the sleek black car, the city's hum momentarily fading as the heavy glass doors of the Monarch Ascent swished open. The lobby was a symphony of soft lighting, hushed conversations, and the distant clinking of ice in crystal glasses. This was her sanctuary. Anya approached the front desk, a sense of quiet anticipation settling over her. A young man barely out of college sat behind the gleaming counter. Ethan, his name tag read. He was scrolling on his phone, a faint glow illuminating his face, seemingly oblivious to the grand space around him. He looked up, his eyes unfocusing, and offered a perfunctory smile. The kind you give before you realize you're going to have to actually work. It was a fleeting moment, but for Anya, it was a familiar sting. A subtle dismissal. A prelude. She'd encountered it countless times in her life, a silent, unspoken judgment. The quiet fire began to stir within her. Checking in, Anya said, her voice calm and clear, cutting through the low hum of the lobby. Sharma. Dr. Anya Sharma. Ethan's fingers, adorned with a cheap ring, tapped against the keyboard, then stopped. He blinked, a flicker of confusion, then a subtle tightening of his lips. His routine smile faltered, replaced by a condescending smirk. I don't see any reservation under that name, ma'am," he said, his tone shifting, becoming noticeably colder, more authoritative. "And we're at full capacity tonight. Guests only, I'm afraid." His eyes slid over her, lingering on her sensible shoes, her practical satchel. The implication was clear, cutting through the air like a razor. You don't belong here. You don't look like someone who would be a guest only. For Dr. Anya Sharma, this wasn't just a miscommunication. This was the opening salvo in a battle she knew all too well. It was the mirror reflecting a truth she carried, a truth that despite her unparalleled achievements, her identity as a black woman meant she still had to fight to be seen, to be believed, to simply exist. The polite facade of the Monarch Ascent had just cracked, revealing the insidious bias lurking beneath. And she knew, with a weary certainty, that this was just the beginning. The stage was set not just for a misidentified guest, but for a moment of reckoning. Anya's gaze didn't waver from Ethan. "That's quite all right," she said, her voice remaining level, a testament to years of practiced composure. "There's a suite always held open for me. I own this hotel." The silence that followed was so thick you could almost hear the thoughts crashing in Ethan's mind. His mouth, which had been set in a dismissive line, now gaped slightly. A small, disbelieving snort escaped him. "You own the Monarch Ascent." The words dripped with a sarcasm so thick it hung in the air like a visible cloud. His eyes, now wide, traveled from her tailored blazer to her sensible shoes, a silent internal tally of what he thought an owner should look like, and how she utterly failed to meet that mental image. He thought, a black woman. Own this impossible. The shift in the lobby was immediate. It was like a sudden, almost imperceptible change in air pressure. A couple seated near the fireplace, sipping their expensive coffee, stopped mid-sentence, their hushed whispers morphing into curious, then judgmental stares. They exchanged a look, a shared flicker of knowing condescension. "Oh, look, a problem." The subtle sound of their clinking cups seemed to amplify, drawing attention to the unfolding drama. A business traveler engrossed in his laptop at a nearby table slowly lowered his screen, his gaze fixed on Anya, a silent question forming on his face. "Ethan, is there a problem?" A voice sharp and slightly exasperated cut through the growing tension. Mr. Harrison, the assistant manager, emerged from a back office, a perpetually furrowed brow etched on his face, his assistant manager name tag gleaming. He sized up the situation in an instant, his gaze sweeping from Anya, the clear troublemaker, to Ethan, his flustered subordinate. "Ma'am, is there an issue with your reservation?" Ethan, regaining a sliver of his composure, puffed out his chest. "She claims to own the hotel, sir, and says there's a suite for her, but we're fully booked." Mr. Harrison's eyes narrowed, his forced professional cheer dissolving into a condescending smirk that mirrored Ethan's. "Ma'am," he began, his tone dripping with patronizing authority, "we'll need to see some verification. This is a very exclusive property, and we have protocols." The implied message was clear. "Prove you belong here, because everything about you tells me you don't." Anya felt that quiet fire within her ignite, hotter now, but still controlled. It was a familiar flame, one forged in countless boardrooms where she'd been mistaken for the assistant, the caterer, or simply a misdirected guest. She didn't argue. She didn't raise her voice. She simply maintained eye contact, a silent challenge in her gaze. "I don't claim." "I do," she stated, her voice resonating with an undeniable power that belied her calm demeanor. "My name is Dr. Anya Sharma. You'll find it on every quarterly report, every executive board memo. I'm here for one night. There should be a suite held under the owner's block." She didn't need to shout to assert her truth. As if on cue, two security guards appeared almost silently. One positioned himself subtly near the elevators, his arms crossed. The other casually leaned against the coffee bar, but his eyes, sharp and assessing, were fixed on Anya. They weren't aggressive, not yet, but their presence was a chilling reminder of the unspoken threat, the immediate escalation of suspicion against a black woman asserting her rights. For Anya, this wasn't just an inconvenience. It was the sting of generations of marginalization, the constant need to prove her worth, her right to simply exist in space that were meant to be hers. This was the exhaustion, the deep soul weariness of a lifetime spent being underestimated, of having her identity dismissed because it didn't fit someone else's narrow, prejudiced notion. It was the sting of being asked to prove what should be inherently obvious. And she knew with a quiet certainty that this moment, this gauntlet of microaggressions, was far from over. With a deliberate slowness, Anya reached into her purse. She didn't pull out a wallet or a business card. Instead, she retrieved her phone, her fingers moving with a practiced ease. The tension in the lobby coiled tighter, drawing every eye. With a single purposeful tap, she made one call. The silence that followed was pregnant with anticipation, a prelude to the inevitable shift in power. She didn't need to explain. She didn't need to beg. She just needed to connect. And the world would soon spin on its axis. Anya held her phone. The call now ended a mere 15 seconds that would forever alter the atmosphere of the Monarch Ascent. She didn't put the phone away, just held it a silent, powerful prop in the unfolding drama. Ethan, still behind the desk, continued to type, but his fingers were rigid tense. Mr. Harrison, clipboard still clutched in hand, tried another tactic. "Dr. Sharma," he began, his voice laced with a forced, almost sickening sweetness. "I think there's been a mix-up. Perhaps you have a reservation under a different name. A corporate booking, maybe?" He gestured vaguely towards a laminated sign, clearly trying to steer her into a more acceptable category. Anya met his gaze, unflinching. "You can verify all you want, Mr. Harrison. My name is Dr. Anya Sharma. I'm not moving." The security guards, still lurking by the elevators and the coffee bar, shifted uncomfortably, their poker faces faltering under the palpable tension. The whispers from the guests in the lobby had crescendoed their initial judgment, now laced with a frantic curiosity. A woman in a designer coat visibly craned her neck, trying to catch every word. Then, a subtle flicker of blue light caught Anya's eye. Ethan, under the desk, was frantically swiping and tapping on his personal phone, his brow furrowed in concentration. The truth clicked into place. He was Googling her. How many times have we been forced to wait to be judged while someone frantically Googles our existence? It's a modern-day indignity, a stark reminder of how quickly we're categorized and dismissed. But for a black woman, an undeniable CEO, it's a double-edged sword. The exhaustion of having to prove your legitimacy, coupled with the subtle relief when the digital world finally confirms your truth. Just as Ethan's frantic tapping ceased, replaced by a wide-eyed, horrified stare at his screen, the elevator doors near the lounge chimed, opening with a soft whoosh. From within, two figures emerged, moving with an urgency that immediately cut through the lobby's tense stillness. First, Ms. Brenda Hayes, regional director in a power suit, so crisp it seemed to defy gravity, her face a mask of barely contained panic. Behind her, Mr. Leo Chen, district manager, followed his usual calm demeanor, replaced by an almost breathless rush. They looked to Anya like people who hadn't slept, their eyes wide with disbelief and impending doom. Their gazes swept the lobby, landing instantly on Anya. It was like watching a slow-motion car crash. Ms. Hayes' eyes widened further, her jaw dropping. Mr. Chen actually stumbled. In two quick strides, Ms. Hayes was at Anya's side, her voice a desperate, urgent whisper. "Dr. Sharma, I am so incredibly sorry, I just got the call." What happened here, Mr. Chen?" A beat behind caught up, his face pale. "This is utterly unacceptable, Dr. Sharma. We're taking care of this right now." Mr. Harrison, still clutching his clipboard, tried to interject. "Ms. Hayes, there's been a slight But Ms. Hayes cut him off with a look that could curdle milk, a silent, withering glance that instantly silenced him. Her posture, her tone, her immediate rush to Anya's side. It was all the verification anyone in the lobby needed. Ethan, watching from behind the desk, visibly deflated, his face draining of all color. The subtle whoosh of the lobby air suddenly felt heavy, charged with the weight of revelation. "Suite 1502 has been cleared," Mr. Chen stated already on his tablet, his fingers flying. "A driver is being rerouted for your morning needs. Your usual green tea and fruit platter will be waiting." Anya offered the smallest, most subtle smile, a flicker of satisfaction that barely touched her eyes. This wasn't about vengeance. It was about the undeniable shift, the moment when prejudice was forced to yield to power. This was it. The moment where power previously denied was finally revealed. It's one thing to be disrespected when people don't know your name. It's something else entirely when they do and chose to do it anyway. And for Dr. Anya Sharma, it was a bittersweet victory, knowing that it took an explicit demonstration of her authority to be simply seen. Ms. Hayes was already pulling a stunned Mr. Harrison aside, her voice low but sharp, discussing HR protocol and service misconduct. Mr. Chen was on the phone, his voice firm, making demands. The tension that had been aimed at Anya now ricocheted through the hotel staff, a swift, undeniable consequence. Anya watched them, a silent observer of the storm she had calmly, deliberately unleashed. The game she knew had just changed. The crisp Atlanta morning air felt almost too sharp, too clean after the suffocating tension of the previous evening. Dr. Anya Sharma, impeccable in a fresh charcoal gray suit, descended from her suite. She wasn't seeking revenge, but resolution. She walked into the executive conference room, Ms. Brenda Hayes and Mr. Leo Chen, already seated, looking like they'd aged a decade overnight. Mr. Harrison, the assistant manager, sat rigidly, his face a mask of anxious dread. Beside him, Ethan, pale and seemingly shrunken, stared at his hands, and Ms. Rodriguez from HR, a woman with kind but firm eyes, observed the tableau. Anya didn't sit immediately. She stood at the head of the polished mahogany table, her presence filling the room. "Good morning," she began, her voice calm, yet carrying an undeniable weight. "Would someone like to explain what happened last night from your perspective?" The silence was deafening. Mr. Harrison cleared his throat, but no words came out. Finally, "Ethan," his voice barely a whisper, mumbled, I just didn't think she was... I didn't expect." Anya's gaze, steady and unwavering, met his. "You didn't expect someone like me to own the building, did you, Ethan?" The words hung in the air, a truth that no one could deny. "But Dr. Sharma," Mr. Harrison stammered, recovering slightly. "We have protocols. We need verification for..." Anya cut him off, her voice still calm, but now with an edge of steel. "Protocols are for efficiency, Mr. Harrison, not for validating human dignity. Let me ask you, was I rude? Did I raise my voice? Did I threaten anyone?" Ethan and Mr. Harrison both mumbled a quiet, defeated no. "Exactly," Anya affirmed. "My behavior was impeccable. Your actions, however, were based on assumptions. Assumptions about who belongs, about who has authority, about who I am. And those assumptions are the real problem here." Ms. Hayes stepped in, her voice strained. "Dr. Sharma, we've already drafted a memo. Mandatory staff-wide inclusivity training will begin next week. Mr. Harrison will be placed under administrative review and disciplinary action will be taken for Ethan." Anya nodded slowly, but her gaze was still fixed on the deeper issue. "Make sure it's not just another box to check, Brenda. I don't want people memorizing scripts. I want them understanding what respect looks like when you think no one's watching. I want them to understand that a black CEO can be anyone. That hospitality isn't just about 5-star service, but about genuine recognition." Later, Anya found Ethan in the staff lounge alone, staring blankly at a half-empty coffee cup. His shoulders slumped. Anya sat across from him, the soft whir of the vending machine the only sound between them. "Drop the ma'am, Ethan," she said gently. "This isn't a hearing." He looked up, his eyes red-rimmed. I messed up, Dr. Sharma. I don't know what to say. Tell me this." Anya leaned forward slightly. "Have you ever worked in a place where you felt small, like your presence didn't quite register?" Ethan hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah. Before this, I worked at a diner. Got called kid, even though I was 27. Felt like I was invisible half the time." Anya leaned back, a faint knowing smile touching her lips. "So you know what it feels like to be ignored. Help me understand then. How did you look me in the eye last night and decide I didn't belong here?" Ethan's voice was rough with shame. "I don't know. I didn't mean to. When you walked in, I thought you were maybe lost or waiting on someone else. You didn't look like..." He trailed off, unable to voice the prejudice that had driven his actions. "Didn't look like what Ethan?" Anya prompted, her voice still calm but firm. He swallowed hard. "Like the kind of person who owns hotels." Anya nodded, a profound sadness in her eyes. "That's the real problem, Ethan. People have a picture in their head. Clean-cut, probably male, probably older, definitely not me. That picture doesn't just live in your head. It affects decisions, it shapes behavior. It blinds you." Then, a quiet revelation from Anya, a twist that tied their experiences together. "You know I was you once, Ethan." His head snapped up, disbelief etched on his face. "Yes, I started as a bellhop. In Chicago. Had people literally trying to hand me their luggage in the lobby, mistaking me for the janitor more times than I can count. Had people call me sweetheart and honey, like I wasn't the one managing the books, the operations, the very heartbeat of the place. It didn't matter how sharp my suit was, how much I knew about the business, or how many degrees I had. My skin, my gender. It was all they saw. Ethan stared completely stunned. You really started as a bellhop. Anya's smile widened slightly. In Chicago, my first manager, a gruff old man named Mr. Johnson, he told me I was too observant for the luggage and moved me to night audit. That was the beginning. That was where I learned to truly see the gaps in hospitality, the subtle ways people were dismissed. It shouldn't be unreal, Ethan. It should be normal. My journey, your journey, anyone's journey. She looked at him, her gaze piercing through his shame to the potential beneath. I don't need you to be perfect, Ethan, but I do need you to be aware. Every guest who walks through that door, old, young, dressed up or not, black or white, immigrant or local, deserves dignity. Start there with that fundamental respect, and you'll never have to recover from moments like last night again. You'll simply be a better human and a better professional. The conversation had shifted from disciplinary action to a profound lesson in empathy, setting the stage for the true transformation that was about to unfold. The conference room hummed with a different kind of energy now. Gone was the palpable tension, replaced by a charged atmosphere of purpose. Ms. Hayes and Mr. Chen, still reeling from Dr. Sharma's unshakable resolve, were already in deep discussion with Ms. Rodriguez from HR. Whiteboards were filled with flowcharts and bullet points, sketching out a new future for Ascent Hospitality. "We're completely overhauling the front-facing staff," onboarding Ms. Hayes declared, her voice firm. "No more just checking boxes. We're implementing new behavioral assessments focusing on empathy, active listening, and crucially unconscious bias evaluation. It's not about what they say they believe, it's about how they react when faced with the unexpected." Mr. Chen nodded in agreement, adding, "Every candidate will undergo a simulated check-in with diverse mystery shoppers. Not just for service quality, but for subtle microaggressions. We need to identify these biases before they impact a real guest." Anya, observing their earnestness, offered a rare, genuine smile. "This is a good start. But policy changes alone won't transform hearts and minds. It needs to be living, breathing, a part of the everyday culture." She paused, her gaze sweeping over the team. "Which is why I'm introducing a new initiative starting next quarter, the Anonymous CEO program." A ripple of surprise went through the room. Ms. Hayes' eyebrows shot up. "You want to be a secret guest, Dr. Sharma?" Anya shook her head slightly. "Not secret, just anonymous. Until I'm not. I'll show up at random Ascent properties quietly, like I did here. No fanfare, no pre-arrival alerts. Just me experiencing the service, the welcome, the interaction as any ordinary guest would." She saw the immediate apprehension, the sudden tension in Mr. Chen's jaw. This isn't about catching anyone in the act or playing gotcha. It's about ensuring genuine hospitality. It's about creating a culture where every single person, regardless of who they appear to be, is treated with the inherent dignity they deserve. Mr. Chen let out a nervous chuckle. "That's going to make a lot of people nervous, Dr. Sharma." Anya's eyes held his unwavering. "Good. Let them sit in it. The real version of this job, the real standard of hospitality, doesn't come with warnings. It comes from deep within. This isn't just about avoiding a Dr. Sharma incident. It's about redefining what luxury service truly means. It means genuine respect for everyone, always." She then turned to Ms. Rodriguez. "And for the training modules, I want something groundbreaking. No more stale corporate videos. I want human stories. I want staff reading actual anonymous experiences from guests who have faced discrimination, who felt dismissed, who were made to feel other. Real words. Human ones. Stories of Black guests being underestimated, of women being sidelined, of immigrants facing language barriers and microaggressions. I want empathy to be taught through lived experience, not just abstract concepts." The team exchanged looks, a mix of apprehension and dawning understanding. This wasn't just a corporate mandate. It was a deeply personal mission for Dr. Sharma, a mission rooted in her own experiences. She wasn't just fixing a problem. She was fundamentally shifting a culture, using her power not for punitive measures, but for profound systemic change. As the meeting concluded, a subtle shift was already noticeable in the lobby. A new agent, perhaps one who had overheard hushed conversations, or perhaps even Ethan back at his post, with a newfound attentiveness, offered a genuinely respectful smile as a delivery person entered. This small, almost imperceptible detail visually reinforced the beginning of a genuine transformation. Dr. Anya Sharma's leadership was about building a better future, one interaction, one awakened mind at a time. The seeds of intentional inclusivity had been sown, promising a profound ripple effect throughout Ascent Hospitality. The morning sun streamed through the expansive windows of Dr. Anya Sharma's suite, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air. The scent of lemon and eucalyptus, her preferred hotel fragrance, filled the room. Her suitcase, meticulously packed, sat by the door. She felt a lightness, an almost imperceptible shift in the weight she typically carried. The battles of the past day, though emotionally taxing, had culminated in a profound sense of purpose. As she moved towards the door, a small folded piece of paper caught her eye on the nightstand. It was a note. Her fingers, accustomed to the rough texture of important documents and the smooth feel of a luxury pen, gently unfolded it. The handwriting was youthful, slightly hesitant, but undeniably earnest. "Dr. Sharma," it began. "Thank you for your grace. I didn't see. I didn't understand. But I will. I promise. Ethan." Anya read the simple words, then folded the note carefully and slipped it into her purse. It wasn't a corporate apology, not a forced statement dictated by HR. This was something far more profound, genuine acknowledgement, a promise of growth. It was a tangible sign that her presence had sparked a true transformation, not just compliance. This was the quiet twist, the unexpected human connection that often blossoms from the most difficult of encounters. Descending to the lobby, Anya felt a palpable difference in the air. The atmosphere, once charged with dismissal, now hummed with a heightened sense of awareness. As she approached the main doors, the bellhop from the previous night, the one who had hesitated to assist her, was standing by the entrance. He wasn't just opening the door. He was holding it with an almost reverent deference, his eyes meeting hers with a newfound understanding. "Safe travels, Dr. Sharma," he said, his voice warm and sincere. "We hope to see you again very soon." Anya paused, a genuine soft smile gracing her lips. "You will?" she replied, her voice carrying a quiet authority. As the car pulled away from the gleaming facade of the Monarch Ascent, Anya didn't look back. She didn't need to. Because she'd left something behind, something heavier than luggage. She had shed the weight of being misjudged, the quiet ache of having to constantly explain her worth, her blackness, her capability. And what replaced it was a lightness. Understanding, discomfort for those who needed it, growth for others. And for her, a renewed sense of purpose that transcended the bounds of her business. This kind of thing didn't shock her anymore. She wasn't angry that it happened. She was simply tired that it kept happening. Tired of how often worth gets measured by assumptions, by a quick glance that dismisses everything you are. Tired of how fast people sort you into categories without asking a single question. Tired of being made to explain things she should never have to say aloud. Yes, this is mine. Yes, I built it. Yes, I deserve to be here. And yet she wasn't bitter. That's the part people don't understand. She carried memory. And memory could be powerful if you used it right. It fueled her not to resent, but to reshape. For Dr. Anya Sharma, every microaggression was a new reason to build, to teach, to insist on a more equitable world. So what do you do when the world refuses to see you? You make sure you see yourself clearly, without apology. And then you walk in anyway. You hold your ground. You speak plainly. You don't beg for permission. You act like the door was always yours. You don't have to shout to be heard. You just have to know who you are and walk like it every single time. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them learn. Let them wonder how they missed it. And when they finally see you, make sure they never forget. And so Dr. Anya Sharma's journey from dismissal to profound impact draws to a close. Her story is a powerful reminder that while the world may try to confine us to narrow boxes, our inherent worth, our truth is unbreakable. It's a testament to the quiet power of knowing exactly who you are even when others refuse to see it. Anya walked in with dignity, and she walked out, leaving a lasting impression. A ripple of change that began in a single hotel lobby, but promises to touch countless lives. Her story isn't just about a room in a hotel. It's about every space we fight to occupy, every dream we strive to achieve against the tide of doubt and judgment. It's for anyone who has ever felt unseen, unheard, or undervalued. It's a message that resonates deeply with those who have faced discrimination, who have been bruised by unfairness, or who simply crave to rise above life's obstacles. So if Dr. Anya Sharma's quiet strength stirred something within you, if her journey echoed your own struggles or ignited a new fire of determination, then this is more than just a story. It's a shared experience. We invite you to carry this lesson forward, to remember your own inherent power. If this narrative resonated, if it made you pause, reflect, or feel something deep in your chest, we ask you to do 3 things. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment below and tell us your own Anya Sharma moment. A time you stood firm in your truth. And most importantly, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Join our community for more stories that speak to truth power and the incredible people who refuse to be ignored.